Greetings VC, TC Kirkham here, TKR Video Central. Welcome, with my terrible hair, to the latest installment of TC's Vinyl Archive, the complete album collection. I have reached the duos. Now, the duos actually take up a cube and a third. I'm doing them all together, so this is going to be a little longer than usual probably. And there's a lot of people I like to talk about in the duos. So, that's just giving you forefront on that. This is show 11, I believe, of the series, either 10 or 11, and all the duos will be done here, and then the next several shows will be groups. Duos, as I said at the beginning in the primer show, groups that feature a duo at the front, like Air Supply, are considered groups. But there are some that feature here that you might think of as groups that I've classed as duos. If that's the case, hey, to each his own. You can file it however you like, and it shouldn't be a problem. Let's get started with the first group, because the second group is going to be all one artist. This is from 2023, and I don't know if they're still together or not. This is the Aubreys. The Aubreys are Finn Wolfhard and Malcolm Craig. One of the best new, kind of new style pop, alt pop. The album is called Karaoke Alone. It is on that kind of, I don't know if you can actually see it. It's transparent blue vinyl. This is the album they put out. They did have an EP, Soda and Pie, which did not come out on vinyl. And now that Malcolm's solo album came out as Malsey, and Finn's announced his second solo album for July, I don't know if they're still working together. But this is actually a good album, and they change off on vocals. If you like alt pop, this is pretty damn good. Next up, duo I've loved since I was in high school. Still recording. I haven't picked up any of their more recent stuff. They have actually still recorded in the 2010s. Still together. They are the twins, Billy and Bobby Alessi. This is their debut album from 1976, I believe. This album features Oh Laurie and Seabird, both of which were, well, Oh Laurie was a minor top Hot 100 hit. Seabird didn't chart, but it's a great song. The second album, Driftin'. This is from 1978. Featured Dancing in the Halls of Love, Driftin', Believer. A lot of good stuff on this as well. Their third A&M album, I believe it was their final one, from 1970. No, this is the middle one, sorry, from 77. This is All for a Reason. So this actually came out before Driftin', sorry. Again, no big hits, but their harmony, their vocals, absolutely great. And if you're not familiar with them, you should find them. They were part of the band called Barnaby Bye, which I got a couple of great VCLT of, which I'd been looking for years and never could find at a decent price. And a gentleman sent them to me. I'm forever grateful. They were terrific. Batdorf and Rodney. From the early 70s, this is your typical yacht rock with a little bit harder edge. I mean, it doesn't look like it's a harder edge, it is acoustic, but the lyrics are a little harder than what you'd normally get from, say, Bread or Seals and Crofts, some of them. Good stuff, though. The two albums that came out, now these are divided into two sections because they changed their name when they changed labels. On RCA, they were known as Bill and Taffy. This was later in their career. And actually, I think they were on RCA on the first one. This is a Dynaflex album. You got the logo right there at the bottom. Bill and Taffy are Bill Danoff and Taffy Nivart, who later Taffy Danoff. They were one half of Starland Vocal Band. At the time, they were at this time was after their time as Fat City. I'll pull up what I have of them in just a minute. This is just prior to Starland Vocal Band coming together. Late Night Radio is on this album, the original version. Oh, that's not even in the sleeve, is it? Oh, for Pete's sake, what happened here? I pulled it out and didn't put it back in the protective sleeve. That was good. Um, this also has Dearest Esmeralda and a number of other songs that they would do and become known for around the coffee shop circuit back in the early 70s before Sterling Vocal Band came along. And there's Pass It On. I think this was the first one. This is a promo copy, again, RCA Dynaflex. I think there was one other one that they did eventually with somebody else on here. Let me see. Friends with You would later be done by Sterling Vocal Band also. Great stuff. Both of these are great albums. If you like Bill and Taffy, you like Sterling Vocal Band, you'll like these. And we'll talk about Fat City in a minute. Boy Meets Girl, this is their debut album from 1984. Features their barely top 40 hit, Oh Girl. Gary, I'm trying to remember their names. Gary Merrill and Shannon Rubicon were not yet husband and wife. By the time their RCA debut came out in 1986, they were, and they had a big hit off that album with Waiting for a Star to Fall. I only had that on CD. They divorced in the 90s, but they wrote great stuff, and this album is fantastic. This is remix album from Bronski Beat, Hundreds and Thousands. It features remixes of Heat Wave, Why, Run From Love, Hard Rain, Small Town Boy, and Junk. They never caught on here, unfortunately, but Jimmy Somerville and the Communards later did. Brothers Johnson, Right on Time. This is the album from 1977 that includes one of the greatest songs ever released, Strawberry Letter 23. Also has a lot of great other songs on here. They were just terrific. Novelty Time, Pac-Man Fever from Buckner and Garcia. This was filled with video game songs. In addition to the top 10 title track, they did songs based on Frogger, Centipede, Donkey Kong, Hyperspace. I can't remember the name of the game. I don't think that was the name of the game. Defender, Mousetrap, and Going Berserk. It was fantastic, and it's still fun. And they later did stuff for the Wreck-It Ralph movies, too. And the two albums by an act I've always loved, the Buggles, Trevor Horn and Jeff Downs, before Trevor became part of Yes and Jeff became part of Asia. This is Adventures in Modern Recording. This is basically all Trevor. Jeff had very little to do with it, and it did not have any major hits on it. On TV was a big hit on the Kirkham Report. Their breakthrough album, The Age of Plastic, featured their monster anthem, Video Killed the Radio Star, which peaked at number 40 in the States, of course, but was a top 10 hit worldwide otherwise, and some other great stuff. This is my new age baptism, new wave baptism. I love the Buggles and always will. The next two acts are the ones that take up most of my duos. I have 1, 2, 3 on some of the other ones, but these are the two that I have the most of. And you guys know who they are because I'm the 70s pop guy. Let's start with Daryl Dragon and Tony Tennille. Captain and Tennille, Come In From the Rain. This is their third album. This was out after their television show was on, and it did not do well at all on the pop chart, but Come In From the Rain and Can't Stop Dancing. Can't Stop Dancing was a minor top 40 hit on the pop chart. Come In From the Rain and Circles were the singles. It also included We Never Really Say Goodbye, which was the end theme from their television show, and Tony's magnificent version of Easy Evil, which was written, I believe, by Alan O'Day. Love their version of that song. Such a great song. Their version of Come In From the Rain was also terrific, and it was, I think, the biggest hit of all the different versions that came out. 1978's Dream, after after this and the greatest hits. Dream brought them back to the top 10 with You Never Done It Like That. They also had minor hits, I'm On My Way and You Need a Woman Tonight from this album. This is my favorite Captain and Tennille album overall. I think it is an absolute masterpiece, and I wish it had gotten better. It did well, but not as well as the earlier albums, and it deserved better. In 1980, they jumped to Casablanca Records from A&M. They felt that A&M was ignoring their original artists in favor of the new wave artists that were coming in with their agreement with Virgin. I'm just noticing I'm sorry about that, I have something on my face. This is the second Casablanca album, Keepin' Our Love Warm from 1981. Features their redo of Gentle Stranger, which was on their debut album, Keepin' Our Love Warm. And this is not the first time. I also love their version of Until You Come Back to Me. This did not produce any major hits and was their final album in the United States until The Secret of Christmas was released in 2006. Love Will Keep Us Together. This was the 1975 breakthrough album. Featured their number one song of the year, Love Will Keep Us Together, and the follow-up, The Way I Want to Touch You. Great versions of God Only Knows and I Write the Songs on here. The original version of Gentle Stranger. And all around good stuff. And Daryl's solo, Brody Bounce, is also great. Their Casablanca debut was Make Your Move. This features their second and final number one hit, Do That To Me One More Time. Also includes Love on a Shoestring and their version of Happy Together, subtitled Fantasy. Those were the three singles. Good album, very different from the earlier A&M albums. Terrific all the way around. Por Amor Viviremos. This is the Spanish language version of Love Will Keep Us Together. I picked this up from Columbia House back then. All of the songs are recorded in Spanish. It is exactly the same album. Second album and the final Captain and Tennille here. I have greatest hits and a couple of other things on CD. Song of Joy. This featured Shop Around, Lonely Night, Angel Face, and yes, Muskrat Love. And their version of the wedding song, which was also a minor hit on the AC chart. My favorite instrumental from Daryl is on this album, Going Bananas. We used it as the theme song from our Subject Cinema podcast for a while in a cover done by my friend Eric Lyon. Absolutely fantastic. And now, my musical reason for existing. I do not say that lightly. There are three acts in my trinity. We will get to Hanson and Def Leppard when we get to the groups. The other one, Karen and Richard Carpenter. Carpenters were the reason I became the music fanatic I am. I loved music before this, Nancy Sinatra, the Monkees, and stuff like this. But Carpenter's debut in 1969, there was no going back. This is 1976's A Kind of Hush. It features A Kind of Hush, Can't Smile at their version of Can't Smile Without You, which was later a hit for Barry Manilow. The single Goofus, which was a real shot, and it was a bigger hit overseas than here. And I Need to Be in Love, which was Karen's favorite song of all the songs they did. This is also one of the few really kind of decent pictures they've done for album covers. This is a newer copy. This is the original. A Song for You from Carpenter's 1972 or late 71. This is a more reissued version, same year, different cover. It's not glossy and does not have the flap. This is matte, and I picked this up from Record Crate. This features the original album version of Top of the World, not the single version. Hurting Each Other, It's Gonna Take Some Time, Goodbye to Love, Bless the Beast and Children, and the later issued single, I Won't Last a Day Without You. Fabulous album. One of a dozen great versions of A Song for You by Leon Russell on this album, and one of my favorite Carpenter's album tracks of all time, the beautiful Crystal Lullaby. Referred to by most fans as the Tan album. This is another one that I bought a more recent, better in shape copy by. This is my original from 1971. It's been marked up. It's been overused. The flap is there because I had this on my dresser when I was a kid. Um, Carpenters was their third album, often referred to as the Tan album. This is the album that features Rainy Days and Mondays, For All We Know, Superstar, the Bacharach David medley that they often performed on television, and the later single Let Me Be the One, which was released as a single from the box set in 1989. Um, just fantastic music all the way around. They won a Grammy, I believe, for Album of the Year. It was nominated for Album of the Year. Oops. Needs to go face up so we don't get it screwed up there. This is an import from Britain. Carpenters live at the Palladium. I'd love to get Carpenters live in Japan, as I've heard it's a better album. I'm not really fond of this, and the reason is because they've taken all their hits and mushed them into a medley on side 2. Side 1 is From This Moment On, Flat Baroque, which is an instrumental from Richard, and it does have some other good stuff on it. Jambalaya, which was a big hit around the world, except for in the U.S. It wasn't released as a single here. And all the hits are in the medley on side 2. It's not a bad live album by standards, but I would perform more of the hits. First album I ever bought, again, this is the original. You can tell how bad shape it is in. This is the one I picked up from Dawn a couple years ago. This is Close to You from 1970. Features We've Only Just Begun, Close to You, They Long to Be Close to You. And no other singles, although their version of Help is on this. It's known because it's kind of a psychedelic version. And their sort of stabby parody song, Mr. Gooter, which was written about Richard's boss, Richard and his writing partner John Bettis's boss at Disneyland when they were in college. Great album. It also includes Crescent Moon and another song, 2 album tracks that the fans just love. The album I consider my favorite Carpenters album, 1975's Horizon. This picture sucks. This album features my all-time favorite Carpenter song, Only Yesterday, as well as the #1 hit, Please Mr. Postman, and their cover of Solitaire. Also, their version of Desperado is on here. The best album track they ever did, Happy, which was also the flip side of Only Yesterday, and Love Me for What I Am. Great album. I accidentally bought 2 copies of this on vinyl. I didn't think I had it on vinyl yet, and when I bought the second copy, I looked and I did have it already. This is 1989's Love Lines. This was composed of unreleased material and previously single-released material from prior to Karen's passing in 1983. It includes the title track. It includes a couple of songs that were included on her solo album that finally came out in 1996. It features the single of Honolulu City Lights, which was issued in 1985, I believe. And If I Had You was released as a single of this, the first ever released under just Karen's name. The single came out on a cassette single as Karen Carpenter, not Carpenters. It also includes their exquisite version of Slow Dance, which was made popular a year or so before it was recorded by them, by Christy McNichol on the Christy and Jimmy McNichol album. We'll talk about that in a few minutes also. There's the unopened copy. So if you're looking for this, and I do have an unopened copy, and I'd be willing to trade it or sell it if you want it, because I don't need both of them. 1981's Made in America. For a comeback album, this was a major disappointment. It's got some great stuff on it, but there are things on this album I just don't like, and the single choices were terrible. Touch Me When We're Dancing was a great lead-off single, but those Good Old Dreams, Beechwood 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, and Want You Back in My Life Again were not good choices for singles. I would have went with Strength of a Woman and a reissue of I Believe You, which is included on this. It came out as a single in 1978. Prior to their 2-year hiatus. But no, but this is a great picture though, and it again has a good picture of the two of them on the inside, which is rare. They didn't take good pictures. Richard talks about that in the marvelous book I have, how much they both hated most of the pictures they took. Love Lines is a good shot, too. This is a great shot, too. 1973's Now and Then. This includes Yesterday Once More and Sing. It also includes the Oldies medley, which they filled up side one with, I believe. Bookended by the Yesterday Once More and its reprise. They did that because they were touring constantly and didn't have time to do a proper album, and I actually love this album too. I love that medley. This is the only Carpenter that is a trifold. And it shows off their home in Downey, California, which was purchased and demolished a few years ago. The most controversial album by Carpenter is 1977's Passage. This is the only album from the Tan album forward that does not include the distinct Carpenter's logo on the front. That's that one right there. It does have it on the bottom in the back. This album's singles were Sweet Sweet Smile, their only country chart hit. It hit number 8 on the Hot Country Singles. All You Get From Love is a Love Song, and Calling Occupants, which was a lot bigger hit everywhere else in the world except the States. It peaked at number 34 here. It was a number 1 hit in Ireland. I think it hit number 1 in New Zealand, and it was fabulous. The album is great, and it does take a few chances with the... Richard now says he wouldn't have done Don't Cry For Me Argentina because Olivia Newton-John cut it and released it around the same time, and he liked her version. But the rest of it is great, and thus I Just Fall in Love Again would later become a hit for Anne Murray about a year later. Their debut album, Ticket to Ride, this is the reissued version from 1970. It was originally issued in 1969 with a completely different title called Offering. It was the same exact album on track-wise, though. Offering, I'd love to have as part of my collection, but I am not willing to spend $400 for it, because I already have it. I wouldn't mind getting a newer copy of this because it's, torn to shreds. Ticket to Ride is the only single that came off this album, but Richard is well known for his satire, Your Wonderful Parade. Their version of All of My Life is on here, which Richard wrote and later was recorded by somebody else too. And Eve, which Richard wrote about a TV movie character that I have always loved that song. This is their first album. The final album released... actually, no, that's wrong. The album released just after Karen's passing was Voice of the Heart. Karen on the front, Richard on the back. This was released approximately 1 year after Karen passed away from complications of a heart attack that was triggered by complications from anorexia. She was 32 years old. No big singles came off this, although Make Believe It's Your First Time and Your Baby Doesn't Love You Anymore were decent AC hits. This includes their version, Richard's version of Make Believe It's Your First Time. I like the version on Karen's solo album better. And I don't have Karen's solo album on vinyl because A&M hasn't released it on vinyl. What the hell, A&M? I want that album on vinyl. This is a great one. I had got this to give away, and I never did. I picked up another copy. I was going to give it to somebody, and then they dropped off the face of the earth, off the vinyl community. So I never got to send it. So if you need a copy of this, I have one. Let me know, and I can get it to you. That is Captain Tennille and Carpenters. Let's finally move on, shall we? The next group, a little bit of everything. This is the Communards, formerly known as with Jimmy Somerville. This includes their version of Don't Leave Me This Way. A lot of great stuff on this. And I mean, terrific. Jimmy Somerville, one of the best vocalists of the 80s. And he's so, he's not forgotten by any stretch of the imagination. But today's audiences don't really know his voice, and it was incredible. DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, otherwise known as Will Smith. This is he's the DJ, I'm the rapper. A double record set, one of the only rap albums I have in my collection on vinyl. This is the album with Parents Just Don't Understand and A Nightmare on My Street, which is on this copy. It was before they got sued and had to take it off. This Columbia House. Now we come to the most valuable album in my collection. I've never figured out why. They are a local band, a local duo. I saw them in concert when they were still using another name when I was in high school. A family friend played bass for them. This was the album produced by the gentleman who called himself Herb Toll. His real name was Herb Tollefson, and he was the music teacher at Harrington High School. Really fun, well thought of gentleman from his students. He was just really good. This is now priced at $400 on Discogs if it's in mint shape. Mine is probably VG. Dreamin' Wild, Donnie and Joe Emerson. They are from the Spokane, Washington area. And this is not the only one. They did do a reissue of that album, as you can see, along with Donnie and Joe Emerson, Still Dreamin' Wild, The Lost Recordings, 1979 to 1981. I cracked this open long enough to listen to it, and it's pretty terrific. The sad thing is, it doesn't include the single that they released, Thoughts in My Mind. My friend Dion, our family friend Dion Bischoff played bass on that song. It's not on either the album. I do have the single. But Donnie and Joe, I never realized they had become legendary until the last few years. And I found this and went looking, and I'm like, wow, people know who they are. This is not for sale, by the way, even though I could use the money right now. England Dan and John Ford Coley, Dr. Heckle and Mr. Jive. This is the second from last album from them. It features Love Is the Answer, What Could I Do With This Broken Heart, and there was another single on here. Broken Hearted Me. Broken Hearted Me and What's Forever For would later become hits for other people. Broken Hearted Me for Anne Murray and What's Forever For Michael Martin Murphey. This is their breakthrough album, Nights Are Forever. They have 2 or 3 albums that came out before this. I believe they were all on A&M. I've never really looked into it. This includes Nights Are Forever Without You and their breakthrough single, I'd Really Love to See You Tonight. Standard yacht rock from the 70s. Professor, you have this album, don't you? I want to say I saw this in your collection. And I think you'd also say it's standard yacht rock. This is Fat City. This is the debut album from Fat City. This is Bill and Taffy when they were still not married. They were married by the time Bill and Taffy came out. They were Fat City on John Denver's Take Me Home Country Roads. This is the first of the albums, and I did not get the second one yet. I just haven't gotten around to it. But this is terrific. I mean, it's Bill and Taffy. I love them with Starline Vocal Band, just themselves. I'm a huge fan, and Bill is such a great story songwriter, and these are a great album. Everybody had this. It was a #1 album in 1978. Dan Fogelberg and Tim Weisberg, twin sons of different mothers. I actually got my copy of the album from Steve at Value Vinyl, I believe. It includes the single The Power of Gold. Of course, Dan Fogelberg, the singer and guitarist, Tim Weisberg, the instrumentalist, if you want to say that. Absolutely fantastic album. There's a reason why it was a classic. From 1980 or 81, the David Frizzell Shelley West album. They had a string of country hits. David Frizzell, of course, the son of Lefty Frizzell. Shelley West, the daughter of Dottie West. They were husband and wife at the time, I believe. Their big hit was that You're the Reason God Made Oklahoma, but I don't think that's on this one. Yeah, that's on the other album that they did. This album had another Honky Tonk Night on Broadway, and I Just Came Here to Dance were the 2 singles. Another great duet album that I loved and picked up because there was no other way to get the song I wanted. This is "What If We Fall in Love," Crystal Gale and Gary Morris. You notice I had a Gary Morris single album. I don't have any Crystal Gale. This I bought strictly because it has the theme from Another World on it, which was the new theme as of 1970, 1980 or 81, or 8, no, later than that, 85 or 86. You Take Me Away to Another World. It was the theme from the daytime soap. The rest of the album is great too. I got it in the cutout bin for like $2, but I love that song. One of my favorite acts of the mid 80s that were so overshadowed by Wham and Tears for Fears. This is Go West and Dancing on the Couch. This is their best album. It features some incredible music that's better than the first or third album. I only have the third on CD. This includes the remixed version of Don't Look Down, which became a hit, called Don't Look Down, the sequel. But the really good stuff on this album is the incredible ballad From Baltimore to Paris and the up-tempo Chinese Whispers. I love this album. I wish it had done better. This is their debut, the album with We Close Our Eyes on it, and also the original version of Don't Look Down and Call Me, and a great ballad called Goodbye Girl, not to be confused with the song of the same name by another British act, Wet, 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 that came about 10 years later. There was a short-lived show in 1977 called A Year at the Top. Do you remember it? Created by Norman Lear. It was about a pair of brothers who were trying to become musical stars, and their manager was the son of the devil, and he was trying to get them to sign their lives away after a year at the top. The show, it was a 5-week summer series. It didn't get picked up because it was awful, and while these two are great together, brothers, Greg Evigan and Paul Schaefer, A Year at the Top. Greg does most of the singing, although Paul does quite a bit of it also, especially on the single He's a Rebel. Love, We're Lovers After All, and I've used Like a Rising Star for every Rising Star show we ever used to do on Subject Cinema. It is a fun album, and the show is worth seeing. All 5 episodes are on YouTube if you want to check it out. This is a promo, and I got this from Adam at Record Crate. It was, I think, $20. Never had any of their stuff, but I grew up watching these guys every week on Hee Haw. Jim and John, the Hager brothers, simply known as the Hagers here. This was their 1974 Elektra album. It is a white label promo. Country pop at its best, and they were both fantastic, and this album is great. Hall & Oates, Daryl Hall and John Oates, Properly. Ooh, yeah. This was the album with Missed Opportunity, which I think was the last hit they had. This is on Arista. This was after they jumped from RCA. And Everything Your Heart Desires was also a pretty big hit off this. It's not bad. This album, I was told it was recalled by the label, but I was given it by a friend who was my boss at Buzzard's Nest Records because I loved the promo. This is I-10 and Taking a Cold Look. I-10 was made up of Billy Steinberg and Tom Kelly, two of the greatest songwriters of the 80s, and this is the album where you will find the original versions of Alone, later a big hit for Heart, and Time to Say Goodbye, later a big hit from Andrea Bocelli. Incredible album. Oh geez, we're over 30 minutes and not quite. I think I'm about halfway through. Next up, going back to the 60s for these. Really terrific stuff, and this album is not in the best of shape. It was given to me by my cousin, but it's not in terrible shape either, and it is playable. It has a few pops and cracks, and it's a classic. Drag City from Jan and Dean has Drag City on it. Little Deuce Coupe, Popsicle, Dead Man's Curve, their biggest hit, I think, overall. Really terrific song and terrific album. And I have the novelty album, Jan and Dean Meet Batman. I got this for 10 cents at a convenience store cutout bin. has a bunch of specialty songs geared to the Batman TV show, and in between, the adventures of Captain Jan and Dean the Boy Blunder. You can't make them up, folks. One of the greatest teams ever, and you'd never know it because they were so young, nobody took them seriously at the time. Both are now award-winning musicians and still making music. Tom and John, the Keane brothers. This is their 1976 debut album. Featured Sherry, Help Help, Amy, Show the World You're There, and Goodbye Summer. What an album. They were 12 and 13. This album triggered a television series in the summer of 77, which was a lot of fun. They weren't the best actors, but it was a lot of fun. And their music, Tom Keane has a distinct voice, which you can hear on backup on a ton of award-winning songs from the 80s. He also produced a ton of stuff, and they would later do a couple of CDs as Keane prior to the current Irish band. But I have the two vinyl ones. This is the first one, and this is 1979's Taken Off. Features a lot of disco for them. They were 15 and 14 here. I use Dancing in the Moonlight all the time on Disco Party. It's a really well done song. They also did Is Love Not Enough, Taken Off, the title track. Rain or Shine was a big Kirkham Report hit. And their version of I Want to Be Where You Are, which was just fabulous. This was the final album released by the ABC label. And when MCA bought ABC, they dropped them like a hot potato. Tom, that's the older brother here. His son Mac just released his first album. It's magnificent. You saw most of these in the female artists. This is the duet album she did with Johnny Gill. This is Stacey Lattisaw and Johnny Gill, and Perfect Combination from 1985 or 86. All great duets. Not as good as she did with Howard Hewitt later on Motown with Ain't No Mountain High Enough, but still terrific. They were school buddies. They were both friends from school, and she helped him get his deal with Cotillion Records before he joined New Edition. Laverne and Shirley sang, I got this from a Discogs dealer for $1. Always wanted it. I figured I'd get it. It's fun novelty. I lost my copy of Lenny and the Squigtones. I think I might have it finally again. I loved that album. The fourth and final album from Lips Inc. This was with a new lead singer. I don't think Cynthia Johnson was still doing vocals for them at that time. I listened to this once when I got it a couple of years ago. It's good. I still want to get the third album, and I have the other two. Love Lip Sync. Steve Greenberg was is a great record producer and arranger, and they did some great music. This was their breakthrough hit, Mouth to Mouth, which features their monster hit, Funky Town, and their follow-up, Rocket. And this was 1981's Pucker Up, which featured their version of How Long, the Ace song, and also the Gossip song was the other single. And a great ballad on here called There They Are. Two terrific albums from royalty of the 70s and 60s prior to becoming a duo. This is Marilyn McCoo and Billy Davis Jr., their second album, The Two of Us, from 1977. No big hits on the pop chart from this, but they had two or three that came out on the that did well on the R&B chart. I just picked this up a couple years ago. It was still sealed when I got it, so it's still in good shape. They were terrific as part of the Fifth Dimension, and their solo stuff was even greater. And that is this was their big debut album that featured their -- hit, You Don't Have to Be a Star. I Hope We Get to Love on Time. Also includes Your Love, which is the second single. Great stuff. They were and are today still making vocal magic. I mentioned this album a few minutes ago as having had the original version of Slow Dance on it. This is 1978's Christy and Jimmy McNichol. They were both riding high on acting stuff. Christy does most of the vocals. Jimmy is not that great of a singer. Christy at least could carry a tune competently. They weren't let's face it, they weren't Barbara Streisand and Barry Gibb, but they did some great disco stuff on here. The cover of He's So Fine was a Hot 100 hit. Great disco song called Hot Tunes. I love Christy's version of My Boyfriend's Back, and Slow Dance. She was singing it just to me, okay? Before anybody knew, she came out as a lesbian in the 1980s. 2 copies. This is the more recent copy that still has the poster in it. I'm not going to get it out, though. Naked Eyes. This is their second album. Fuel for the Fire features What in the Name of Love, and No Flowers Please were the 2 singles from this. I love them. They were the best synth pop duo of the 80s, except for Soft Cell, which I do not have. This is the debut album, featured Always Something There to Remind Me and Promises. Promises also has 2 great songs from the album tracks, When the Lights Go Out and Fortune and Fame, which was later covered by a group called Dreams, which we'll talk about when we get to, I don't know if it's the groups or the soundtracks. It came from a TV show. And finally in this stack, we've done Donnie and we've done Marie. Let's do Donnie and Marie. Songs from our television show. This was the 1976 album, which featured their last big hit single as a duo, Deep Purple. Also featured Donnie's solo hit Come On Marianne and Marie's solo hit Hey, My Name Is Alice. I have all the Donnie and Marie stuff from that era, so just so you know. Going Coconuts, their final album together until they did the new revival show in the 2000s. This talk show, this is from their god-awful movie Going Coconuts, features their last top 40 hit On the Shelf, which is disco. Most of the album is disco, and also features You Bring Me Sunshine, which was the theme from their television show the last season before it became the Osmond Family Show. This is their debut, I'm Leaving It All Up to You, from 1974. Features their top 10 hits, I'm Leaving It All Up to You and Morning Side of the Mountain. This is the follow-up, Make the World Go Away. The title track was a country hit, didn't produce any other singles. New Season from 1976 features 77, features their covers of Ain't Nothing Like the Real Thing, and what was the other single? It's All Been Said Before were the 2 singles off this. Ain't No Mountain High Enough. Ain't Nothing Like the Real Thing did make the top 40, just barely. This album, Winning Combination from 1977, also features Marie's new haircut and their version of Soul and Inspiration, which also hit the top 40. Also has the title track and a lot of great stuff. Donnie and Marie were never bad together. They always had great harmonies, although they probably shouldn't have been singing some of those songs to each other. I mean, they're brother and sister, for Pete's sake. Ew. Sorry, I couldn't resist. Another act that I love and have 3 of the albums by. Another disco act. This is Peaches and Herb. Peaches and Herb, Twice the Fire. This came out in early 1980 and features their hit Roller Skating Mate and I Pledge My Love. This was after they hit really big. This is the new Peaches, Linda Green. It's not the same Peaches that was part of Peaches and Herb in the 60s. Herb is still Herb fame. This is the one that brought them back to the mainstream. Peaches and Herb Too Hot features Reunited and Shake Your Groove Thing. Also, We've Got Love, which was the follow-up that missed the top 40 by 1 or 2 notches. Great disco all the way around. And this is the album Worth the Wait from 1981. Did not really produce any big hits. This is a promo copy. And Fun Time was the single, and I believe Surrender was the other single. It's a great album. Another great disco album that I've used frequently and actually had requests for on Saturday Night Disco Party is this one, Pink Lady. This is their only American album. It was recorded completely phonetically. Pink Lady did not speak English at the time. I believe they do at least a little bit now. And of course, this was out in the summer of '79. Kiss in the Dark was a top 40 hit and a top 20 dance hit. They made their American television debut on a Leif Garrett special on CBS, and that led to Pink Lady and Jeff. The less said about that, the better. B and K are still friends, made more music in the 2000s, and are terrific even today. Pratt and McLean, these guys were session singers until they hit it with a cover version of the Happy Days theme. This is a great version, a great album with some great pop. Love their version of Devil with a Blue Dress, but my favorite song on here is their cover of Our Last Song Together. The last song written by the team of Neil Sedaka and Howard Greenfield before he left to move to England, and it was just an awesome version. The Rays, I'm trying to get all of theirs too. This is the only one I have right now. Dancing Up a Storm. That I'm sure, wait a minute. I thought I bought two of those. I guess not. Or it could be in my currents, I'm not sure. This is the second album. They had three, I believe. That features their number one or top five Kirkham Report hit, A Little Lovin' Keeps the Doctor Away, was a big hit on the dance chart here. It's all disco music. Cheryl is now a top entertainer with Carnival Cruise Lines. Robbie passed away in the late 1990s or early 2000s. Couple of they were the Canadian equivalent of Captain and Sneal, by the way. They had their own TV show and everything. Seals and Crofts. This is Diamond Girl. Picked this up from Dawn. Great stuff on here. Diamond Girl was a single, as was... Oh, geez, I can't read it because the label wears terrible. Diamond Girl and We May Never Pass This Way Again. I knew there was another single on here. Great stuff. I mean, Seals and Crofts, they're both gone now. We lost Ash Crofts a couple months back. Jim Seals died a couple of years ago. You could not go wrong with these two. They just never did bad music. This is Summer Breeze from the year before. Features Hummingbird, Summer Breeze, and The Boy Down the Road was an album track for them. I think I have their greatest hits too, but I should get more stuff than that. This is the reissue from last year or the year before. 22 of Nancy and Lee, part of the Nancy Sinatra Archival series. It's called Again. This features a lot of great stuff, but this is not their known stuff. This was their second album together. Lee, of course, produced most of her stuff in the 60s, and they were a romantic item for quite a while. But this is just stupendous. I had never heard it until I got it, and they work so well together. It's astounding. I left the shrink because of the Obi strip. This is my original copy of Sonny and Cher, All I Ever Need Is You from 1972. This features their last two big pop hits, A Cowboy's Work Is Never Done and All I Ever Need Is You. This is the 2021 reprint of this reissue on 180 gram vinyl, remastered, and it's a gatefold, unlike the original, and the sound quality is amazing. I know Melinda Murphy likes this album. Melinda, if you haven't picked up the reissue, you might want to think about it. This is good. This is fantastic. Tears for Fears, Songs from the Big Chair, Shout, Everybody Wants to Rule the World, and Head Over Heels. Is there anybody in the vinyl community that does not have this album? And the sad thing is, I don't really care because I didn't really care for it that much. I liked the singles, and that was about it. Last group here, some classic stuff from Ike and Tina Turner. I never took all the way off. I could because it's a gatefold, but I just wanted to listen to it. Great classic stuff. Cussing, Crying, and Carrying On. It's older stuff, and as you can tell from the picture, really good, typical Ike and Tina stuff. Then a gentleman I talked about on one of the mail shows. This is the two duet albums. I did end up buying both of them. There's one solo album I think I might not have because I didn't think I got everything, and I'd like to. This is, which one's first? This is the second album from Voudouris and Kane. I talked about Roger Voudouris on one of my mail shows. Love this dude. I'd never known about the duos until I got in the vinyl community, and I went and bought both the albums. They are just great songwriters. David Kane wrote most of this. Really fantastic. And this is their first album. There's a Secret Going On. Again, if you do not know who Roger Voudouris is, he was just an incredible songwriter, and I love his voice also. And this is a great album as well. The last big grouping I have here, I have two more. The three albums released in the States by Wham. This is fantastic. They were known as Wham UK then. This is the album that has Bad Boys, Love Machine, their version of Love Machine, Wham Rap, and Nothing Looks the Same in Light, and Young Guns Go For It. All dance hits here in the States. But they didn't take off until Wake Me Up Before You Go Go came out off of Make It Big. This includes that, Everything She Wants, the original version, the remix is better. Freedom, again, the remix is better. And Careless Whisper, which was not on this album overseas. It was a George Michael solo single, but the American version does have it. And their last album together, I'm Your Man, from '87. This features Edge of Heaven, I'm Your Man, the redone version of Wham Rap, George's solo hit, A Different Corner, and the utterly exquisite Where Did Your Heart Go, which is this like suicide song that's just amazing. Love this album. Finally, duo who changed their name when they got older. When they were teenagers and performing together, they were known as Andy and David Williams. They were the nephews of singer Andy Williams, the sons of Donald? I forget which brother they were the sons of. They were twins, 14 years old, in all the teen magazines. This is their debut album, featured I Won't Last a Day Without You and Fly Pretty Baby, from 1972. 1973 saw One More Time. This had no hit singles. By this time, this was on Cap. This was on MCA. The third album, which I only have on digital, or had on digital, I lost it when I lost my drive because I couldn't get it back from eMusic, was on Barnaby. This one has the title track, One More Time, their version of Oh Pretty Woman, and Just Like in the Movies, I think, was the single. They were 15 when this came out. It was the third album on Barnaby that they had out when they appeared on the Partridge Family, basically as themselves. And then, after 14 years away from the business, they came roaring back in 1988 as the Williams Brothers. This was Two Stories. It is one of the greatest albums of the 80s. The follow-up, the two follow-ups I have on CD, the Williams Brothers and Harmony Hotel, they are all fantastic. Very much what I would call AAA rock. This has Some Become Strangers, and what was the other single off this? Some Become Strangers, which is just a dynamite song, and I'm not sure which the other single was. It might have been State of Heart. Fantastic album, and so are the other ones, and you could tell where they were going back then, way back then. Stupendous music. This has taken long enough, almost an hour. That's it for the duos. We will break into the groups on the next show. I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have, please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Please support us. We desperately need some help with our GoFundMe, so please do that. The link is at the top of the page, and also in our show notes. So please donate if you can. We're really having problems getting this done while we're waiting for Kim's retirement to kick in. And don't forget to spread the word about the channel in general, because, hey, I can't find you if you don't find me, and I like to help people find other people too. Did that make any sense? Probably not. That's how tired I am. It's a weekend, and I've been stressed out all week from the money problems and everything else. In any case, I will see you on the next one of these shortly, probably Monday or Tuesday. Until then, I'm TC Kirkham, TKR Video Central, and for TC's Vinyl Archive, the complete album collection, I bid you adieu, and I will see you on the interwebs. Ciao, baby.